Welcome back to the Think Conversation. Still with me is Sello Hatang. Sello, can the national dialogue arguably be seen as a mid-course review of the 1996 political settlement? If so, what should it tangibly deal with to invite posterity to the present?
Look, I think it's a reset point where a nation presses that reset button to say we are off course. We need to get back on course.
Is it reset to default settings? Because our default settings, it might be apartheid, you know?
So
what is if you say reset, is it reset to default setting or what?
No, the reset is to take us back to the dream of 1996.
Okay.
The dream of 1994. Where hope was the crucible of everything. You were drinking from a well that said, we can be better. We are able to be better. And we can build a future that's different. That's the reset that I'm talking about. The reset that said, that past where we come from should just be something we script. I have this thing that my mentor, Leon Wessels, likes saying that you can't argue for a better past. And at this stage, if we are to do anything with this dialogue, we must not try argue for a better past. We should be saying, what kind of future are we imagining? And that future should be the future that has those four issues that I mentioned as the core that says, if an economy does not work for the majority of its people, it cannot have enjoy the same kind of that it continues to be credible.
Yeah.
We must just say the economy, if it doesn't benefit and it continues to benefit the minorities in our country, you can't give it the same.
Even if that minority is non-racial. Because now we have a non-racial minority
by
benefiting
this,
from the economy.
By this, I didn't mean in terms of race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a minority that didn't do what. Remember when I forget the name now, Carnegie, the Carnegie Project.
Yeah.
That was dealing with the white poor.
Yeah.
What they managed to do was to pull white people, almost all of them, out of poverty. Almost all of them, because they were intentional. The economy must be intentional in pulling out black people from the poverty. We must have race issues dealt with effectively, intentional about it. Hence my argument that if this dialogue is to achieve anything, is to ensure that black people discuss blackness. What does blackness mean in this day and age? Why do we still have to have enforcement of cleanliness? It can only be done if it's enforced. Why do we still have a situation where you have a country that struggles with just imagining itself with a township that can be clean?
And Tate Hata, the world is talking about make America great. There is also make China great again. You know, this MAGA thing is there. And I think we still have people in the country that are busy with make apartheid great again. It's their own MAGA. And in the same country, we have people that are busy with make Africa great again, you know. What would you say about the possibility of a movement that might be saying make apartheid great again?
Has it died?
I'm checking.
You're making it sound like it died at some point. It never died. That make apartheid great again movement, it might just be regaining momentum because we have allowed it to. By we, I mean how we behave in terms of a parliamentary system, where we continue to make corruption fashionable. And therefore, you make those who are extreme in terms of BEE, who have been saying BEE doesn't work, you've given them the power to say it now with more being emboldened to say it. And I think, Ntate Mathebula, let's be honest. And this kind of thing of a dialogue that we're going to have must be a dialogue that it makes us confront that honesty. We have made a mess of a system that should have worked when we had an opportunity for it to work.
Let's go to the issue of the state. South Africa has a legislative authority which is vested in Parliament, and it's an authority Parliament has. There's an executive authority which is vested in the President. It's an authority which is legal. Then there's a judicial authority in the courts. Where does the economic authority of the Republic vest? Because we seem not to be able to change the economy. It's either there's no sufficient authority to change it. Should this matter of the economy be one of the issues at the national dialogue?
It has to be core.
And if yes, what specific things in the economy should sit in that dialogue?
You know, it has to be core to it. You cannot continue to have an economy that makes people more poor, that continues every year. The statistician general tells us that the numbers of black young people who are unemployed is increasing, not decreasing. It's increasing. And yet we think that's normal. We have normalized the abnormal in Ntate Mathebula. We have to reach a point where we say it's not enough to have the IMF, World Economic Forum, being the ones who inform the economy alone. It can't be that those who, there was a meme that was making the rounds this past week about how the ratings agencies are based in countries that owe the world more. I mean, a country that owes the world trillions of dollars is the one that determines whether you can get debt or not. Mm-hmm. How do you make sense of that? I'm not an economist, but I can tell you that something is not working there. The formula is not working. Change course while you still can. You cannot have an economy that makes black people more poor and you think that's normal. It's not right. This dialogue has to at least begin to shift that thing in a meaningful way. It upsets me to no end to think that 31 years later, you can still have an economy that says 60% of the unemployed are black youth. And we think that's fine? Yet we have a system that we know worked in the past, where when white people were poor, in the same state where we are now, they did a reset. Carnegie gave money for a study. They implemented that study. What makes us fail to do that?
But that Carnegie study was also integrated into state-sponsored commissions.
Precisely.
And I think, if my memory serves me well, we have had few policy-focused commissions. I think it was the Vincent Mapai Commission, the Presidential Review Commission, which actually defined a lot of things in the state. Why is it we have an aversion to say there's an issue in the economy? Can we have a commission of inquiry to look at the templates of the economy that are making the economy difficult and have a study that will come with policy recommendation? Why is it that? Because you have traveled the world, you might have experienced.
Look, I think our biggest challenge in this country is implementation. Mm-hmm. You can have the best policies drafted. Even this dialogue, how many reports have been produced out of commissions of inquiries? How many that you know while we're sitting here? Let's look at the latest one, Zondo Commission. Where is it? Why do you have a commission called the Truth Commission, and then you have a commission about that commission to ask why didn't we implement those recommendations of the Truth Commission. You can have many commissions until you have political will to implement. We are in trouble.
We left with 3 minutes, and I wouldn't want you to leave without dealing with this question of soft power, the role of foundations like the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, Nelson Mandela Foundation, Katrada, F.W. de Klerk, Desmond Tutu. These foundations, they have a soft power role. But in a world where golfers are emissaries of nations, why wouldn't countries use these foundations to actually deal with international tensions? Like in South Africa, we had a tension with America, but we saw golfers going to solve it. Are we already missing Jimmy Carter, for example, in the Middle East? I mean, Jimmy Carter just died few months ago, and the Middle East explodes. So why are these foundations not used, especially in South Africa?
I think it's because in some quarters they're seen as a threat. You've always heard how people would start saying, who funds them? They're treated with suspicion instead of being used as a resource that can help build the country and let the country reimagine itself. And I think for as long as you treat these foundations with suspicion, we're going nowhere in terms of reimagining the country that we want. Core to everything that we're doing in Sello Mathebula should be about giving hope. Let dreams continue to just, for a child to be able to dream, they must know that it is possible.
And that brings us to the end of the conversation with Sello Hatang. In this edition of the Think Foundation, I thank my guest Sello. It would be ideal to hear your perspective on this issue. Until next time, I'm Lucky Mathebula.